Reticulation happens when film experiences extreme temperature changes during development. This was something that was drilled into me when I was learning how to develop film. I was always told, always keep your temperatures consistent and you won't have any problems. And it's true, I've been mindful of my temperatures. I've been using a sous vide to keep my temperature steady, and I've never accidentally reticulated my film. And that was years ago, and just fast forward a bit, I just one day randomly wanted to reticulate some film. I just assumed that it couldn't be that difficult, so I just went ahead and tried it without any research. When I'm testing random things like this, I just use a bulk roll of whatever expired film I have. This is HP5, so please excuse the base fog and general expiredness of this film. And so I shot some stuff and I developed it. During the stop bath step, I turned the tap on to the hottest setting and just let the film sit in it for a little bit, dumped it out, and then poured in the coldest water from the tap. The tap ranges from about 50 degrees Fahrenheit to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so I thought surely a 50-degree difference would cause some reticulation, and it didn't. At this point, I had to admit defeat. I had to do a little bit of research before I went ahead, and that's when I found this write-up on Ilford's website. I'll leave the link in the description. If you're interested in doing this, I'd highly recommend reading this, but the general gist of it is to develop film normally, and for the stop bath step, go from 150 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees to 180 degrees, and then fix normally. After following these instructions, I was able to reticulate some film. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in the process, so I only shot a dozen frames, but it worked. Success. And of course I'm going to trichrome it. I shot these pictures about a year ago, and I kind of had it in my mind that I could reticulate film whenever I want. So for this video, I went out and I rolled up a fresh roll of HP5 just so I could add some variety to my previously basic and lifeless shots. And it kinda didn't work. I followed the instructions like before, but instead of that sweet reticulation, I mostly got normal looking stuff. It wasn't until I zoomed in and I realized that I actually did reticulate it, just not by a whole lot. If you look at the sky or any solid colors and zoom way in, the reticulation appears. But zoom out or just look at anything with texture and everything kind of just looks normal. If I were to try this again, I would probably dunk it in cold water another time and maybe make the baths hotter and colder to extend that temperature range. But you know, this was a fun experiment to try. What this has taught me is that film is much hardier than I previously thought. From everything I read, the older the emulsion, the more susceptible to reticulation, and film manufacturers have worked on this for decades trying to make sure that film doesn't reticulate. And they did a pretty good job at that. And no one in their right mind would accidentally develop their film with a temperature variance of over 100 degrees. Shoot anything relatively new and you really shouldn't have problems with reticulation. Unless you use a monobath. They seem to have a lot of issues with reticulation, but in that case you have much bigger problems to worry about, like using a monobath. Don't use a monobath.